Hi, I'm Dan Verton, Editorial Director with FedScoop. We're here at the Security Through Innovation Summit today, and we're speaking with Ms. Donna Dodson, who's the Chief Cybersecurity Advisor at the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. Donna, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start off just with a general question that has come up here at the conference, which is biggest disruptors right now throughout government in terms of security. What do you think the biggest disruptors, either positive or negative, that government agencies are dealing with today?
So these are really very exciting times we're living in with digital technology really influencing every aspect of our lives, and therefore really reflecting back on all federal agencies. If you think about mobile and cloud and cyber physical systems, they offer tremendous opportunities for us. They also offer some cybersecurity challenges as we give people the tools to do the right thing and providing it in a way that meets their needs and is also secure.
So you do a lot of work, obviously, with the Cyber Framework.
Yes.
That NIST has issued, working with Department of Homeland Security and various private sector entities across the country. Interesting comment was made this morning. I don't know if you saw the CTO from NSA who said, and he probably wasn't referring to the framework specifically, but he said common standards often give people an excuse not to think. And I think his point was, don't just think because you've implemented this baseline standard that you're done. Talk a little bit about what is required of the framework to be effective beyond what is actually on paper.
So the framework, to start with, is voluntary. NIST is not a regulatory agency, and we work very collaboratively with industry to create a process that can be used, a risk management process. I think what's really key here is it's a risk management process for cybersecurity to integrate back in with business mission. So it gives you the flexibility that you need for your own environment, but it also provides the tools and the lexicon for what I think of as the bits and bytes folks, maybe the level where I'm more comfortable, all the way up to the C-suite to have conversations and understand that risk posture, where they are today, where they may want to be in the future. I think that's really critical. It's not just about implementing one standard or another standard. It's the collection and how does that support your risk management posture.
Do you have any sense of what the adoption rates have been since the final version 1.0 came out?
So we've seen organizations are talking about their implementations of the framework. Intel recently published a paper about their use of the framework. We've seen different organizations in the energy sector and in the communication sector put out their tailored guidance for using the framework. We've heard about individual companies. There was a recent summit where the CEO from MasterCard talked about the framework and their use of the framework, as well as Apple. So we're seeing lots of different sectors, and not just all critical infrastructure sectors as well. In the retail community, you know, we've heard from organizations that are in the entertainment industry, retail, using the framework and being able to tailor it to their environment.
One of the things that I found interesting is various verticals already have so many different frameworks or standards that they follow in the healthcare industry, in the banking and finance industry, in the energy industry. They all have these various guidelines. So in comes the NIST framework, and the answer I got when I asked a lot of folks, all right, so how are you using this any differently than what you've already been doing? And it was all about syncing the NIST framework up with various other frameworks and how it was a complement to these other things. Now, coupled with that, I've also heard that perhaps the NIST framework might become the standard for an insurance, cyber risk insurance industry, where if you want a policy, show us that you've met these minimum standard, baseline standards. Is that something you see as a potential benefit of the framework?
So the framework, and one of the great benefits that we've heard from industry about using the framework is that lexicon. You talked a lot about, say, healthcare or finance or insurance, but in fact, in the world of business, healthcare and financial services and energy sector all have to come together at various points in their business models. And having a lexicon and 5 high-level functions that you can speak to and have that same language, we've heard from a number of industry partners has been incredibly useful, whether it's in their supply chain or whether it's talking to other verticals, et cetera. So I think that lexicon gives you that ability. The framework did not develop, as part of our process, we did not develop any new standards. We provided a context to put existing standards in for today. And the framework is really much more about addressing risk and a process to address that risk and a lexicon to be able to talk about it.
So before I let you go, let me ask you a little bit more technical question
Sure.
on information sharing. So when we talk about this whole notion of, okay, a common lexicon across industries so that they can speak the same language, they understand what each other is saying, that also goes to real-time threat information sharing. There seems to be an issue where, okay, so how do we communicate emerging threats from a bank in New York City to a water purification company somewhere on the other side of the country? I know there have been some custom, I think it's called STIX.
STIX and TAXI are two important
Right.
protocols in this space.
Are those two the answer to making that more broadly, that capability more broadly available, or is there something else that we will need to be working on?
So I think we need to look at information sharing from a couple of different perspectives. And that is the question of requirements. Who do you want to share with, and how well, what kind of relationships do you have with them? And then I also think that kind of on another axis, you have to look at the technologies. So we have cloud and we have endpoints that are often mobile devices. We have social media as another kind of information sharing media. So we have to look at all of these two areas in context. That is the kind of the architecture and the kinds of information we want to share and who we want to share with, and understand what those requirements are. So certainly things like STIX and TAXI are very, very helpful in this space. I think we're going to see some different paradigms come out when you think about sharing information and you're on a mobile device versus you're back at your enterprise and you have a lot of data. You're going to think differently about another piece of your enterprise, perhaps in another organization that you have strong business and contractual ties with, and that's going to reflect on how much or the kinds of information that you share. Versus, I think this is important for the world to know so that it doesn't affect you in the way it affected me. Right. So if I'm in finance and I want to make sure that healthcare is covered, right? Because we're all in that ecosystem. We might be in financial services today, but we might be needing those healthcare services this evening.
Right.
So we want to, I think those kinds of relationships are also going to affect, the kinds and the details of information shared. And we're going to need capabilities that address a number of these use cases, starting with where are our requirements, just like when we worked on the framework. I think we start there.
To take another quote from another presentation earlier today, is one organization's breach should be another's security.
Right.
It gets into that need for real-time information sharing on a broad scale.
Yes.
Right. Donna Dodson, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Great talking to you. You're watching FedScoop TV. I'm Dan Verton. Thanks very much.